Hello and welcome in to another edition of the Tech in 10 postgame show. From the Ruston Daily Leader, I am sports reporter Matt Belinson, coming to you fresh off of Louisiana Tech's 47 to 27 loss to North Texas. The Mean Green take it to Louisiana Tech on the road. After the Bulldogs, had some momentum going after a strong win over UTEP to begin Conference USA play a week ago. The Bulldogs, came out of that win feeling confident. There were some things that they did really well. Parker McNeil had his best game of the season coming out of that win. Obviously, you knew North Texas was going to present a challenge on offense coming into this matchup, but man, Louisiana Tech had no answers, and it's pretty clear if you look at the box score here and just the stats that just scream at you of kind of how this game played out. We're just going to dive into right now. The biggest concern I think for this team, if you watch the game or if you haven't watched this particular game yet, but the run defense for Louisiana Tech, it's just not great. I would say it's really not good at all. Louisiana Tech gave up 475 yards rushing to North Texas on Saturday. And on 47 carries. For those that are doing the math at home, that's a 10-yard average per carry. North Texas averaged a first down every time they handed off the ball. Louisiana Tech could not stop them. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't wrap up. The defensive line did not create any leverage whatsoever. 0 sacks on the day for this defensive unit. I think one thing that needs to be mentioned, obviously, is Louisiana Tech was without its starting linebacker in Tyler Grubbs, the team's leading tackler. He's a veteran presence in that defense. Clearly missing him today. Maybe not played a huge factor. I mean, obviously this run defense has suffered with him in the lineup, but you have to think it would be a little bit more respectable with him out there. But nevertheless, 475 yards of rushing for the Mean Green. As I mentioned before, this is nothing new for Louisiana Tech. In 5 of their games this season, Louisiana Tech has given up to their opponents an average of 5 yards a carry or better. That just can't be good enough to win. Sonny Cumbie acknowledged it after the game. He said that obviously, like I mentioned before, the Bulldogs struggled to tackle the Mean Green. They struggled to pretty much stop them and impose their will. North Texas knew that they were just going to continue to run it time and time again. The Bulldogs couldn't stop them. And I think if you're Sonny Cumbie and this team going forward, this has to be the number one concern for you. Parker McNeil in the passing offense, I think, got all of the headlines through the first 4 weeks, obviously with the amount of turnovers and the way that they were losing games. But don't be mistaken, in those losses, this run defense was still just as bad. And I think it's important to recognize that. This obviously was the worst that it's been all season, but if you're Louisiana Tech, I mean, you got to get this fixed in a hurry. Otherwise, I mean, teams know how to beat you, and you've shown so far that you have no answers of how to beat it. Overall in the season, opponents are averaging 6.2 yards per carry. It's just not good. And I think if you're Louisiana Tech, you just have to find a way for that defensive unit to tackle better and to understand that they have to create a new leverage on the line of scrimmage. They can't just let the running back come to them and then just tackle. They have to be the aggressors here, get downhill, and stop these runs before they hit the hole, because right now Louisiana Tech is easily the worst run defense in Conference USA, and if it doesn't get better soon, I don't know how many more wins we're going to be looking at on the schedule here. And on the flip side, the offensive line overall for Louisiana Tech did not have itself, a banner day. They gave up 7 sacks to North Texas. Coming after some some games that, was okay. There was obviously a lot of shuffling going on with some injuries for Louisiana Tech over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, starting setter Abraham Delphin, and then starting, a freshman on the right side of this offensive line. You kind of knew there would be some growing pains, but 7 sacks to the Mean Green. I mean, you're just not going to win games like that. Even though Parker McNeil, threw for over 400 yards today. But that being said, with the pressure that North Texas was creating, I mean, I'm just going to read you this: 38 carries for 80 yards. That was Louisiana Tech's run game, as opposed to 47 for 475 for North Texas. That's 2.1 yards per carry for Louisiana Tech. This run game with Marquise Crosby and Greg Garner, those are kind of the two mainstays for this group. It's just not working, and they're just not able to run north-south like they want, and get those chunk yardage to make defenses honest. Luckily for Louisiana Tech, Parker McNeil was able to stretch the field and make some plays to keep Tech in it for a little bit, because the run game, I mean, it's just not there. This is the fourth time this season they've averaged 2 yards or below in the run game. There's really no other way to say that both the defense and the offense, when approaching the run game, is one of, if not maybe the biggest weaknesses for this team right now, and it's the reason why they're 2-4 overall, and 1-1 in Conference USA play. And as we get to the final topic here, the schedule seems to be getting easier, at least over the next couple of weeks. With the way Louisiana Tech's been playing, I guess we can't guarantee that there are wins coming, but you look, they come home next week against Rice, and then they have a bye week, and then they go, not a bye week, excuse me, and then they go on the road to Florida International, and then you come home for Middle Tennessee over your next three. Those are definitely Rice obviously is second in Conference USA at the time I'm recording this. Definitely gives you the biggest challenge of those three teams, but from what I've seen from Rice, I wouldn't consider them world beaters. I think if Louisiana Tech can settle itself in and put together a good game plan and execute, I think they can take care of business and beat Rice. Florida International, Middle Tennessee are in the bottom tier categories of most statistics in this conference. FIU is by far, if they're not the worst team in this conference, they're the second worst. Louisiana Tech should have no problem facing them. And then Middle Tennessee, like I mentioned before, kind of a middle-of-the-pack group. Some veterans returning on both sides of the ball, but nothing that should really scare you if you're Louisiana Tech. So I think if you're the Bulldogs, this loss obviously hurts, especially after the momentum you thought you gained last week against UTEP. But I don't think the sky is falling just yet. I think over the next 2 or 3 games, I think you could pull out some wins and kind of get back to near 500 and kind of a respectable area in this conference before it's too late, because as it looks right now, Louisiana Tech's got a lot more questions than answers. So it'll be interesting to see if they can overcome that. But yeah, again, 47-27. I mean, it's a 20-point loss for Louisiana Tech on the road in its first road Conference USA game. You can't have many more of those if you wanna salvage this season and possibly make a run at bowl eligibility. So it'll be interesting to see if Louisiana Tech can overcome what's hurt itself all year, stopping the run and running the ball against some what I would consider some inferior competition. So it'll be interesting to see if Louisiana Tech can pull these next couple out and kind of respond. But for that, I'm going to leave it at that. That's going to do it for us on this edition of Tech in 10 by the Ruston Daily Leader. I'm Matt Belinson, and thank you all for listening, and have a good day.